Looking at the beautiful landscapes of southern Louisiana, it is difficult to imagine that less than a year ago, nearly the entire area was destroyed by a monstrous hurricane. Hurricane Ida disrupted countless environments. 150-mile-an-hour winds tore trees straight out the ground, heavy rains and floods displaced wild animals into new locations, and oil spills covered over 100 different species in oil. After all the destruction, many of the region's native animals have rebuilt, moved back into, or simply left their old habitats and returned to life as it was before Hurricane Ida.
As far as forests, you ride up and down the highway, there almost were no leaves. The twigs were broken off, the little branches were broken off, a lot of limbs were broken off. It was the main trunk of the tree and the hardiest of limbs. In a lot of cases, that's all that survived, with very, very, very few leaves. The trees are now budding out. It's fascinating to see because they're bright green, but it's in patches, because it's lost so many of the leaf-carrying parts of the branch, of the limb.
Unfortunately, although Mother Nature has mostly moved on, there are still some deep scars left over by the storm. Some of these can be seen clearly in the swamps and canals around southern Louisiana, in the fishing camps. Fishing is a huge part of a lot of people's lives in Louisiana. Many families have passed down fishing camps through the generations as a sort of Cajun inheritance. Unfortunately, Hurricane Ida did not care about family legacies.
My dad had a camp in the marsh area, and he used to go to it about every weekend or so, every so often. But because of Hurricane Ida, it's no longer there.
As the weather warms up after a long Louisiana winter, a lot of camp owners are going to have to make some very hard decisions. Is it worth rebuilding their camps? Or is it time to just let them fade into happy memories? Heck, is there even enough to save? The wind and water did a lot of it. Pounding rain beat down on soft wooden floors, roaring winds crumpled tin roofs like sheets of paper, and flooding rotted away whatever was left. Even if the storm didn't quite finish the job, fishing camps were still not safe. Following the hurricane, most people were busy helping their families, friends, and neighbors. Not everyone, though. Some people took advantage of the situation. Looters rode through the swamps, following the storm in search of valuables. They'd enter camps, take what they could carry, and wreck whatever was left. Some camps, like this one bordering Lake Buff, were ruined. Looters stole spare boat batteries, electrical cords from the walls, and even old tools and equipment for repairs. Before they left, they shattered light bulbs, broke a window, and left a pile of beer cans. As so many camp owners try to decide whether or not to rebuild, they have to think about the possibilities of it happening again. What's stopping another monster hurricane from coming through and destroying everything once more? The sad truth is, not much. The Louisiana wetlands are supposed to act as a natural buffer zone for storms spiraling towards us from the Gulf. Unfortunately, due to a number of factors, the wetlands are dying. Oil and gas companies plow through, chopping up everything into new man-made canals. Global warming and greenhouse gases are causing the Gulf of Mexico to flood saltwater into the marsh, poisoning the wetlands. The Mississippi River was caged off, restricting sediments from ever getting to the wetland areas that so desperately need them. All of these things are killing our wetlands, and without them, there is a good chance that there will be another monster hurricane, and then another, and then another.
Once it comes onto land, whether it be a forest or a marsh, it is reducing itself. It is bringing the ferocity of the storm down. Marsh maybe less so than a forest. But yes, it does. It starts knocking that storm down. Also, when they come on land, they start weakening.
Now, almost 6 months later, the ecosystems that were so horribly disrupted are returning to normal. The alligators, snakes, frogs, birds, and other animals are now acting as though nothing ever happened, especially the fish. As we enter early spring, Louisiana freshwater fish are growing more and more active. The warm weather and beautiful blooming plants are beginning to cause bass to leave their winter hiding places and swim to more open, warm, and shallow areas of water.
Well, it depends on where you go, and it depends on the weather. The best time To catch them is probably when the barometric pressure is like falling. And that's the way we did it, you know. That's the best time to get them because I know a guy that worked for the wildlife and fisheries, and he told me that on a falling barometer is the best. But the salt water now is different. That it goes by a falling tide. That's usually when the salt water is supposed to be good, right?
Biometric pressure, also known as atmospheric pressure, is one of the biggest factors when dealing with fish. This pressure is the total amount of weight that air puts on the planet's surface. Although humans are used to it, the barometric pressure can wreak havoc on underwater ecosystems. When the pressure rises or falls heavily, it is like gravity is fluctuating underwater. Understandably, this can be disorienting to the animals that live down there. When hurricanes and other storms come, the pressure falls. This is when fish are the most active. Once the pressure stabilizes low though, the fish will go basically dormant as they try to readjust their swim bladders, which are the body parts that control buoyancy. Hurricane Ida hurt Louisiana. It destroyed our property, gave opportunities to looters, and reshaped our ecosystems. Now, it's time to rebuild.